Check this out. I'll give you this interesting tidbit. Well, 10 years ago, there's about 13 or 14 artists that line up on stage alongside Jay-Z, and they're there for the title announcement. And it was everybody. One artist says, you know what? I'm not going to get on that stage.
Rap music is pretty much dead. Like record sales are down. They're pushing Afro beats and all kinds of different music. These guys keep unaliving each other. They keep doing everything they can do in their power to destroy hip hop music themselves. Now DJ Akademiks, he has the powers that be that's coming after him allegedly. So he's saying that he got a phone call. He's saying he got a phone call from a powerful executive that's saying, "Yo, they coming for your neck, man." Now Charlemagne, allegedly tried to warn him, but Charlemagne is part of them people, part of the dominant society. I'm no fan of neither one of these dudes, but he's basically been like an independent lone wolf. And if you ain't joining the team, you the enemy.
It's a semi monologue. I got it. I got some interesting calls in the last week, and I know I haven't streamed that much, but one of the calls I got, I won't tell you from who. Maybe you were able to deduce who, but I won't confirm or deny. But it's really one of the most powerful people in the music business. And this person called me, and this person said, "Hey, Ak, I just I just got put up on speed on some of the stuff you've been going through, some of the stuff you've spoken on, and I seen a recent sit down, and I said I got to reach out to my guy Ak because I seen they were trying to label you as manic." Now, this is one of the most powerful guys in music, flat out. I just won't say his name. Maybe you'll figure out who. He says, "Ak, I had to reach out to you to tell you you're not crazy. Dude, I'm going through the same thing."
Now, when you're contracted in with them people, with the Diamond Society, man, and you go against the grain, they come after you. They send a million girls. They say that you did some stuff to some women in 1842, right? You know how they do, right? And they'll keep the women anonymous. You fighting for your life, but they'll keep the women anonymous, and they'll say that when you came over on the Mayflower, you did something to some women in the 1600s, right? And they'll get away with it because you're going against the grain, right? That's the tactic everybody knows is true, but no everybody afraid to step up and say something, right? So now the executive that called him is a guy, Larry Jackson, and he was a former executive of Apple Music, right? He went and formed his own company now, like Gamma, where he was doing the same thing for Apple he do for himself. It's like a $1.8 billion backed company, and they basically coming after him. Now his competitors, he's alleging that Rock Nation, again, Rock Nation coming up in here again and saying that their competitors, the competitors is coming after him, right? So this is what he's alleging. Now, Akademiks is saying he got the call from this guy, right? From this guy who he didn't want to say his name, but everybody pretty much know who it is, right? Akademiks, he elaborated more on it.
Now, I'm beating around the bush here because I don't want to just throw out names. But I want to just parallel because the things that he even divulged to me that was going on to him. And I said, why don't you say this? And he said, well, I deal with it differently. I'm dealing with it legally. I don't need to speak on it publicly, but I'm dealing with it legally. And he told me some stuff. I'm like, what? That's happening? Whatever. And he said, what you need to realize that we're in uncharted territory. The games that's being played and how people are getting at people it's unprecedented. But there's really only one entity that's playing on that level. And he said, I called you just to let you know, if you ever need legal help, if you ever need whatever, I'm here to back you up. Because trust me. And by the way, without, I don't want to dox him. Not necessarily dox him, but I don't want to. But he said, didn't you see some stuff pop up about me? And it looks so beautiful and so good. Where did that come from? This is what this person said too. He said, Ak, when you expose that they came at you and they're using an AI article, they made a whole AI website about me. They didn't even use my picture. It was an AI generated thing.
So these anonymous powers that be made all kinds of scandalous accusations against this man Larry Jackson, right? And Gamma's, man, this whole thing is crazy. So they were saying that Larry Jackson paid for Billboard front covers, claiming he raised 1 billion. Internal sources say Gamma is down to its last 10 million, 90 million burned with nothing to show for it, right? So they was doing everything and anything that they can do to destroy this man's image, right? They was just posting a lot of crazy stuff about this dude, man. Then they went and said no client retentions, just advances and exits, right? Usher signed via Diddy, Clive Davis network connections, one project going, right? Quiet exit. French Montana alleged streaming fraud and fan complaints followed his Gamma deal. Fan complaints, right? Rich the Kid, right? One project cycle with Gamma, left quietly with no announcement, next deal. Mariah Carey released one project with Gamma, departed without fanfare, right? Four bats signed by Boo Thiam, OVO Drake deal allegedly blocked by Larry, both unhappy, right? So he had a whole bunch of people. He's had a whole bunch of people that's been coming at him, but they basically saying they blaming this on Rock Nation, and they saying that Rock Nation is behind this because they wanted to sign Drake, but he ended up penning Drake with Apple Music for millions of dollars. So now these people are hiding their identities and they're coming after him. And he made the phone call over to Akademiks saying they doing the same thing to me, right? So Akademiks, he starts speaking on this because he's been calling out Rock Nation for a while now.
Said, check this out. I'll give you this interesting tidbit. Well, 10 years ago, there's about 13 or 14 artists that line up on stage alongside Jay-Z. And they're there for the title announcement. And it was everybody. One artist says, you know what? I'm not going to get on that stage. And I'm not going to be a part of this. I'm going to go another way. There's some disruptors that's moving some shit over there. Happens to be at Apple Music. And I'm going to get with them. And I get it. Y'all are talking some equity stuff over there, but they're going to give me 20 million. I put my album on there for 7 days. That slight was never forgotten. Remember, Drake got snatched up, okay, from underneath the person who felt like he was the Don Dada, biggest mogul, Jay. Drake didn't get down. Now, if you think that Drake is the only one who feels the brunt of that type of, reaction afterwards, what about the guy who wrote the check, who did the cosign, and made the play to get Drake? You see what I'm getting at? Anyway, that happened then. You would think that I'm talking about something that just happened 10 years ago. But if I tell you that in the last couple of years, on a music side of things, when I mentioned Bobby Shmurda, when I mentioned Lil Uzi Vert, when I mentioned Meg Thee Stallion, what Rock Nation is trying to be is literally the new realm of distribution. It's this artist type of they want to kind of upend major labels, but mostly on some, okay, you're getting over here with J and M. Don't believe me? Rock Nation announces distribution. Remember, this came out. Also, this didn't go along well.
Now, this is the thing. If the Larry Jackson dude is telling the truth, in which I don't have no reason not to believe him because I understand. They use these black faces in these spaces to fight against each other. But remember, use your brain. Behind the scenes, who you think is fronting the money? There's powerful W's behind the scenes that's fronting that money. So now they're fighting and vying for position to sign these artists to make money off of them. So now if Tidal is around, whoever's Tidal's funders are, right? They're going to use all their resources to go after Larry Jackson to destroy his credibility and his funders because they're fighting behind the scenes for power and control. They just put black faces there. Hey, you want to run a company? All right, we'll give you the money, man. We'll give you a certain percentage. You could be out there. You could be the face, right? So now you working for Apple, and then you go and you start your own company. So now here comes so-called Rock Nation, right? Against you. But who's funding Rock Nation? Who's funding Larry Jackson? That's the real fight behind the scenes. They just got two black people destroying each other, tearing each other down. So you might have a Joe Buttons or a Charlemagne that might come out and say something bad about Larry Jackson. Who's funding them? Who's paying them? Because remember, they rock with Rock Nation. Right or wrong, weak or strong. Right? So Larry make a phone call to Akademiks and tell Akademiks, yo, they doing the same thing to me, family. Right? So you have black people just destroying each other while these W's behind the scenes that don't have to show themselves ever making the money, because those are the ones that's really fronting the money for the for the front man to be out in front. Jay-Z is just out in front, right? He don't have billions of dollars to run these distribution companies. So I always, like Dr. Phil Valentine always told us, you search the you got to search behind the curtain, bro. You got to search the mystery behind the history. You got to go behind the curtain and look. And who's really orchestrating this thing for real? Who's calling the shots, right? But Act wasn't done.
Right? Remember, they have a Rock Nation distribution dashboard, right? When this came out, artists like Russ and other people, they were like, yo, this is a bad deal. United Masters, or if you go with like TuneCore, or you go with what's the other distribution thing? They were like, you get better terms. Essentially, again, I'm trying to make a long story short. Rock Nation was trying to get into distribution. It got slammed by critics. It got slammed by even artists that were knowledgeable. You guys could do the math here. There is a new type of label that is doing exactly what Rock Nation wanted to do. They have focused on distribution in a different way outside of the majors. Let's just say maybe it's called Gamma. I don't know. Put it like this. The loss that Rock Nation ultimately took 10 years ago, they didn't forget. And they're realizing again, 10 years later, when the same person who's the midst of this is now also creating a competitor that is doing a lot better than what they're doing currently. I don't need to spell it out for y'all, but I pray for them. They pray for me. I pray for Drake. They pray for Nicki. Like we all, it's an interesting thing. But I got called and comforted by, again, this is when I just have to say his name. You know who it is.
So again, who are the major contributors and funders to Rock Nation, right? And Tidal and all that stuff. And who's funding Larry Jackson? Because that's the real fight behind the scenes. They got to make that money back, and they got to make a profit. So they're going to use their front people. Yeah, y'all going to fight against each other. We're going to use every instrument we can to destroy your image and your credibility, Larry. That's what we're going to do because you are a competitor. That's what they're going to do. And then the other people that invested money in him, they're going to use their resources to go after them, right? And the people caught in the middle are people that look like me, the black faces, right? People that look like me, right? Those are the ones that's caught in the middle, man. So Akademiks, he get a phone call, and they're going after Akademiks because Akademiks got a major platform, a hip-hop platform where the young people tune into to listen to him. It doesn't matter whether you like him or not. I'm dealing with facts of what goes on, right, in this industry. And he has sponsorships, and he's made millions of dollars. He has a lot of influence on the young hip-hop culture. And these companies know that. So they're going to Rock Nation. He's a legend that they're doing everything they can do to come after him. But y'all let me know what y'all think, man. What's your opinion on this, man? If you made it this far in the video, hit that like button, subscribe to Street Media TV, leave your comments in the comment section. Remember, I love y'all. Till the next time. Peace.